winter-like night here in Toronto. Hopefully where you're at, anywhere in the world, it's warm and spring-like at least. But tonight I got a great show with a very special guest, psychic medium Anne LoCicero, and she'll be coming on the show in the next little while. First, just want to say hello to everybody in the chat room. Thanks for joining me tonight, and everyone that might be catching the show on another site or in archives, thanks for listening, and everyone on Facebook, hope you're doing well. Thanks for being a part of the group. And YouTube, MySpace, Blog Talk Network, Now Public, what else? Twitter, yeah. There's so many, and that's why I was a little delayed today, because I was promoting the show on all my social sites, so it took a few minutes. But without further ado, we'll bring in Rebecca right now and get the show started. Hello, Rebecca. Are you there?
Hi, I am here. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's a real honor to get a chance to speak to you. And I know we've been anxiously waiting to have this show. It seems like it's been quite a while since we first collaborated, but boy, has the time ever gone by.
I know. I have been on the calendar for a long time, and
right.
it's definitely built a lot of anxiety. Like I was excited. It was building a lot of excitement for me. So
and I had it definitely bookmarked, and I posted your website in the chat room here on Blog Radio for everyone to go take a look at, and
then they can see my face. They know who's talking.
That's right, and let's give it over the air, too. That way everyone can take a glance at it as they're listening. It's RebeccaAnne.org,
right.
And they can definitely go there and see who they're hearing on the radio, as you just said. And speaking of that, let's go back. I know everyone always wants to start off in the childhood of each guest, but I think it's rather important, because I see a lot of abilities in my children, and coming from where you came from, did your parents see that in you, or was it something that you sort of gathered on your own behalf and really, started to notice in your own talent?
Well, I tell you, it's the funniest thing. My parents were both 100% Polish, strict Roman Catholic. My mother even was as far as to work for as a secretary for a priest at a church. And as long as I can remember, I have always been, childhood to me was like catechism and church and, all of this kinds of stuff. And for me to have this gift, my mother was bananas. She absolutely loved it. I can't say they were supportive, but she certainly knew what was going on. When I was like 5 years old, I was already talking to my grandfather, and I never knew any different. Like, I'm one of these people where when I was a child, you could never tell me, Darwinism, like, not that I would understand that as a child, but, we go to worms or we go to the earth or we regenerate in dust to dust, that kind of thing. And I always used to think, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. We live on. I know, because I would talk to my grandfather all the time. And I can't say I was supported in any other way other than the fact that my mother and family members, relatives, loved that I used to talk to my grandfather.
Right.
With my mom and dad.
I understand the Slavic background because my wife and even myself, I have a bit of Macedonian in me. They are very much into the paranormal in kind of like an old world sort of way.
Yeah, mysticism.
That's right, and they won't admit the fact that they believe, in the mainstream titling of things that are over here in North America. But is that what you noticed?
I did notice that for them it was more accepting, that they knew that what I was doing was something that was possible, but they also knew that it was something they didn't do. So it's almost in my family growing up as a child, it was theatrical. Rebecca, is Grandpa around? You'd have Christmas dinner, and as they're serving the pie, Grandpa would love this pie. Rebecca, is Grandpa loving this pie? And here's this 5, 6, 7-year-old, like I'm young when this was happening, and I'd kind of sit around and they'd laugh because I would zone off. And I think that's a very big characteristic. Maybe you see this in your children.
Yes.
They'll
especially my
off.
daughter, yeah. Oh,
they'll
yeah,
look up,
sure.
They'll kind of look to the left or the right, and that's what I would do. And they'd go, is she with us still? And I'd turn around and I'd go, yeah, I'm just listening to Grandpa.
Well, have you started to notice that, let's flash forward to current day, because you have 3 children of your own, and are they exhibiting any sort of talents of their own at this point?
Yes. and I almost say that with a air of burden and grudge, because, come on, God. Are you serious? There will be times where I will... I have 3. I have a 15-year-old daughter. I have a 5-year-old son and a 3-year-old little girl. The 15-year-old, I really kept my work from her in the manner that I wouldn't openly express all of the connections and energies that I was feeling, because I wanted to keep her innocent in a way until she started saying, Ma, you're going to work? Yep. Ma, it's a lady. I'm like, okay. Yeah, it's her mother who's crossed over coming through for you, Ma. Like, she's 10 years old, and I'm going, this is my job. Well, wait a minute. She's 15 now. I have a 5-year-old. My son now does the same thing at 5. He'll go, Mom, you're going to work tonight? Yeah, why? Well, there's like a bunch of men around you, and one of them might be a grandfather, and, I'll get that kind of essence. So my children also are intuitively open.
And here's a question for you, too. When you're with them and you're sort of unknowingly or even knowingly trying to read somebody, because they're pretty much, they are genetically you in so many ways, does it amplify your psychic ability when they're near you?
No. I don't think that it amplifies it.
Right.
However, you know what? You and I on the phone together right now, it's going to be amplified just with us. Energy is going to come through, and if we took a caller and we had a reading right now, or if I'm going to read you, which I just might, you never know, but if I'm reading somebody and you're even with me, your intuitive energy is now going to be amplified. So I think that just that being in that presence of being open and having that energy around affects all of us. So I don't find that I'm more intuitive because they're around, but I do at times. I'll walk into the room and the children will be playing, and maybe I'll feel my relatives around them, and I'll just walk in, and my son and my younger daughter will kind of look up, and we all have a common conscious awareness that something else is going on in the room. We don't always express it to each other, but you can tell that we all just kind of had a common wow or a common connection. Like, oh, there's more people here than we thought playing with us right now, and then because children are innocent, they pop up with the the strangest things. I have a grandmother who's crossed over on my husband's side of the family. Her name is Lily, and often I know that this grandmother would have loved to be with these children of ours, and we'll be playing, we'll be doing something, and they don't even know, these children sometimes, how intuitively connected they are. She'll just pop up and go, Mommy, are lilies flowers? That was one that I've heard her say, or can we plant lilies? So although she's not aware, my youngest is being 3, not aware of what she's saying, I know that Lily, who's the grandmother, is around.
That's right.
Because the information will come out so random, so beautifully random. Oh. I love my kids.
I know what you mean, because there was one moment, I spoke of it in detail on another program that I did, and all of a sudden my 4-year-old daughter just started naming one of her so-called imaginary friends Locusa. And me being, police trained and law enforcement background kind of thing,
who's
I went
the stranger?
Yeah, exactly. I went into investigative mode, too, immediately, and I Google searched that name. And sure enough, and strangely enough, it's a small town, near Switzerland.
Wow.
And she's, that's the most strangest name to call an imaginary friend. Most people say, Billy or Anne or Mary or, a common basic name. But she came up with such a complex name that it can't be coincidence. And it's like you said, they're receiving these names and messages, but for their child mind, they can't comprehend it, so they just break it down to the simplest form.
So we have to thank God that we have open parents like you.
That's and yourself as well, because this is the embracing aspect.
That's the important part. It really is. If my mother and father didn't humor what was going on. And I say humor because I can't say they condoned it or denied it, but they accepted it. And we have to do that. I mean, everybody listening too, just know that it's real, it's there, and if your children are accepting it, accept it.
That's right.
It's there. Well, you can't really stop it.
Let me ask you, for adult purposes, is it easier to get a solid reading from men or women? I've asked somebody else before, and they gave me their personal answer, but I want to see if it varies from person to person. You know,
I actually feel like I have a really good answer to that, because I work so often with one-on-ones and groups.
Right.
I can say 100% there's always more women than there are men. Is that because we're more open and more emotional? Definitely. However, it is almost easier for me to read a male than a female when they come to me, because for a male to actually come to me, they're being open.
Right.
It is a breakdown. I mean, as a male yourself, you know, you like, especially like what you just said about your daughter, you know, you put up that guard right away.
Mm-hmm.
If you are going to willingly go into a room where a medium may be speaking to a loved one, or as a psychic they may get into a part of your life, you are going there open. However, you are definitely, I find that the male versus female are more skeptic, and they want more proof, which is fine. We give it to them. That's, that's not a problem. I don't have a problem with skeptics. It's debunkers I have a problem with.
Yes.
We don't want any debunkers. That you can't read them. They don't want to be read.
Well, that's the thing with the debunkers, though. They come out of the woodwork because they're so full of internal rage that they can't get rid of, that they need to go around, just pointing the finger and acting absolutely ignorant. Now, okay, you can have your sense of questioning of the things, and what they are and why they are that way. But if you go around hurting people, that's when you cross the line.
Well, I often, I very rarely have I come across the debunker. It's usually the husband or the wife, because it could be male or female. There are definitely debunkers that are both. But it's that energy that goes, you're wrong before I got here.
That's right.
And it's very hard. You can't beat that. You can't get through that. And we all have free will. We have free will as children. We have free will as adults. And we have free will when we cross over. So we never lose that beautiful God-given gift of free will for our soul. These children have free will to accept or deny what they receive as well. I mean, some have imaginary friends, some don't. When somebody comes in who's skeptic, they're really asking a question. Do you know what I mean? Like they're like, prove it to me, please. Yep. And that I like. And men tend to be that way. They tend to be, give me the name, give me the dates, give me the exact information. And it really gives a psychic medium an opportunity to share with somebody and open them and enlighten them. So the question is, men are definitely harder than women.
Well, what about an atheist? Because they're so, lack of believing of anything, are they able to be read, or are they like lead? Where nothing penetrates them and they kind of just absorb, and then that's as far as it goes.
I don't think that anybody's religious or spiritual beliefs interfere with anything that I'm going to be able to read. Right. As long as they are open enough to acknowledge what's being said without accepting or denying, but just to acknowledge, then there is that ability for them to receive information. I have read a lot of people who are atheists. You kind of start psychically. Maybe I'll go into their job, or I'll go into, some sort of psychic energy that's around them. And then from that, I'll be like, and did you lose your father too? And it does kind of go into that. However, I have not found that it really changes anyone's viewpoint. I think an atheist, first of all, it's not up to me to convert.
That's right.
Never. Energy is energy is energy. And even if they're atheist to the point where they just don't believe in God, sometimes you find the atheist that says, I don't believe in God, but I'm sure that, something lives on. We're energy. And they accept the reading in a different way. Somebody gives me a reading, I'm all tears and crying, and I'm connecting, and I'm searching, and I'm analyzing. Somebody who has more of an atheist perspective, they'll take the information and they'll love it and they'll enjoy it as half entertainment. But then I do find that a lot of them will contact me afterwards and say, that made sense. And I just let them take it where they need to take it. Let them accept it for why, how they have to or why they have to. And just I have to just trust that whatever comes through is going to mean something to them in the long run for a reason.
That's a very good answer. And, it might even open them to some sort of faith, something beyond their spectrum of thought, on a daily basis. So that's a very good answer.
Well, that's what you're doing with this show. Thank you very much.
Oh, my
I'm sure
pleasure.
there's people opening up because of you. You're a light bringer.
Well, I really, for me, all along, I was constantly searching for information on myself, and try to educate myself, and that's what inspired me. It's just the gathering of knowledge and the communication factor from person to person. And I actually have a question from the chat.
Awesome.
What the question was, her name is Button33. She's in the chat room.
Hello, Button.
And she wants to know, is there any messages from the other side for her, particularly from her mom?
Okay. I'm going to start this with backing up a little bit. I'm going to go an hour ago.
Yes.
She wants to know if there's anybody connecting for her. And is it Button or Buttons?
It's written Button 33.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed to know. I was just working tonight. As a matter of fact, I pulled in my driveway at 1 minute before 10. So I came from a group of people that I was reading for, and I'm laughing because the one thing that I couldn't connect with for one particular person was Buttons, actually. So what I kind of want to feel, and I want to throw out really fast, and she's in the chat, so I honor any confirmation she can give, is that I have a female that's connected to her, and the female that's connected to her I feel might be a grandmother. I'm not sure if Buttons have anything to do with her, but I do associate the Button as the name. When I pull in this grandmother, I want somebody who's very smart. She had a lot of wit about her, so she remembered a lot of things. I possibly have glasses or reading glasses that keep slipping. Something keeps slipping. I'm an older grandmother, so I feel like I definitely lived a long life, and I would actually have to say she probably lost both grandmothers maybe, but I think I'm feeling this one might be on the mom's side. Thank you. And then there's an M connection. I want to put an M connection to this, like a female M name. This may not be the grandmother's name. This could be anybody's name. And she's definitely talking about the fact that she had children. There may have been 3 children. There may be 2 now. I want definitely boy, girl, and I feel like I'm supposed to put a third in there, but I can't find a third. And work. Stop worrying so much about work, Button. That's definitely work-related, energy work-related for her as well.
I hope that helps, Button. And she's having audio trouble with her computer.
Oh, no!
Yeah, so I hope she caught all of that. If not, Button, when you get situated, you can definitely hear the replay and analyze anything that you may have missed in full detail at a later time. But I'll ask her now if she did hear that, actually.
Okay, and while you're in the chat room, I'm outside.
Yes.
It's a beautiful, beautiful night out here in Connecticut, Vernon, Connecticut, where I am. There's got to be somebody else in the chat room.
It's freezing here in Toronto.
I'm sorry. I was talking over you. I apologize.
That's okay. No problem.
I do that when I read.
Yes.
I tell people when they come to me, I get to monopolize this conversation, if you don't mind. And I'm going to talk to myself while I'm at it. I just want to mention that there is somebody else in the chat room that lost their father. And I have a father connection. So it's a big heart. And maybe she's even putting hearts into the chat room all the time. This is a heart person. Something about hearts are very important. I'm not saying that he died of cancer, but there is a cancer connection to this person too who lost their father. Like they wear the pink ribbon. I see the pink ribbon. So if that happens to come to fruition in your chat, I'd love to know.
Okay. Yeah. If anyone has definitely lost their father, and to cancer especially, and has a connection to symbolism of hearts, or possibly the name heart, it could be as well. Let us know, and or if you know somebody, because is it possible to even carry the thoughts of loss from a dear friend or a colleague that impacts you so greatly that you start almost implanting those memories into your own self unknowingly. Could that happen as well?
Can you rephrase that?
Well, say for example, you work with somebody and you hear the story of the loss of a loved one or a friend of theirs, and it impacts them so greatly that it sort of jumps onto your brainwaves and becomes you. Is
Yes.
that possible? Yes.
Absolutely. We are energy. If you're working next to me and I've lost a loved one, and even if I'm just telling you about it, I expect you to grieve. I expect you to be like that. Is that what you mean?
Yes. I know these might be repetitious, but I'd like to, just go through.
Oh no, don't please be repetitious. It's important. There is definitely a sense of, because it's energy. It's all some form of beautiful, perfectly directed energy. If you're with somebody who's lost someone and they're telling you about it or sharing it with you, or even not sharing it with you, but it's that kind of a day for them, and you know that they're feeling that grief, you know it because you're going to feel it too. We're compassionate human beings. I do readings. I cry with the people that I'm connecting with. It's definitely, grief is such a reality. I even say, working as a medium sometimes is hand in hand with that. I don't believe in the stereotypical 7 steps of grief. I think we have like 150,000 steps, and we go up and down them at our own random free will. But there is that, we all feel that. That's empathy.
Well, let me ask you, too, because I know you also really look into past lives.
I love it.
I had a few questions that I'm not sure if you've ever been asked, or if you have, maybe, cause these are things that constantly question myself in my own mind. Is there a possibility that somebody can get caught in a psychic trap from life to life? I'm sure the answer must be yes. And could it be in a genetic code?
Boy, are you in for a speech.
Go right ahead, because I love information. So this is definitely down the right
All right,
path.
let me tell you Rebecca Ann's perspective on past lives. And yes. I'd love to know if your chat room feels this in some way.
Okay.
How conflicting is it for someone who states that they are aware of, God and heaven and this perfect, when you die, everything's great kind of feeling. And then in their very next breath or conversation, they mention something that has to do with, that's from their past life, they can't get rid of it, karma, and so on and so forth. Now, my perception that I've received, definitely through channeling and through speaking to dead people for so long, when you die, you have free will. It does not go away. For you to have multiple lifetimes is a definite. We have multiple lifetimes, so our soul, which does not have, our soul does not go away. We get the different bodies, but the soul and the chakras and the memories and the heart, that all stays the same. Now, when I die, okay, let's say I'm a smoker, and I love the smoking, and I'm rude about it, and it kills me, and it's bad for people, and it's this and that, just to use that as an example, and I'm a smoker, so that's probably a bad example, but you have that, okay? If I'm going to die, in my next lifetime, I'm not going to come back with smoking issues or lung issues because I smoked in a prior lifetime. When I die, everything is perfect. So if I choose, because God said, I will never force you to live again, so you don't have to come back and do another lifetime. You don't have to, ever. But if you choose to evolve your soul, to learn a lesson, to be reconnected with another soul that is in human form again and all perfectly orchestrated, I am not going to come back down and have a lung problem because I smoked in a past life. I may come down with a lung problem into this next lifetime because I decided I needed to learn from that. Somebody may come in this, in their past lifetime, they may have come through as a severely mentally retarded child.
Yes.
Severely, like just did not have the kind of life that a human should have. Very, very devastating. They chose that life for themselves to learn something. Everything for a reason. Their next lifetime, they'll come down, they'll be the best, number one, doctor, professor, scientist, working on Down syndrome, having had that cellular experience implanted within your soul only allows you to come back down to do something. There's always going to be a purpose for why that is, and that goes good and bad. good and bad. But I don't believe that kind of past life things come like that on purpose. You may need to learn something. For example, I do healings. So I have a massage table, I have a healing room, I do a lot of laying of the hands, psychic surgery. I've had situations where I've had to heal the auric field for someone who had a past life situation still in their aura. However, I'm not necessarily healing it as much as I am intuitively making them aware of it. You know, you had kind of like a staple on your third eye. Were you trying to come in with a closed intuition, and is now the time that you're here with me as another human to tell you you don't have to have that closed anymore? You know, there's always going to be a purpose for a change if you come down with an issue like that. But I don't want to think that we don't have free will, that I can't choose to come down without a problem. You know what I mean?
That's a very good way to put it, and it also really emphasizes the fact that humans need each other so much, you know, in so many ways, because there's this, even a mental outcry of you know, it might sound strange, but touch, you know, to touch another one's mind is the same as touching someone's skin in a lot of ways. You know, and that's why there's so much of a connection to people such as yourself and the people that need that service, you know, especially with the fact of lost and loved ones. The loss of a loved one is the hardest thing to ever get over, you know, and it's strange how the rest of the animal kingdom, well, it's not strange, it's pretty much written in stone, but they don't really, you know, sit there and continue that loss for extended amounts of time. They may, elephants they know, reflect for a few moments, you know, and every time they pass by a certain path, they'll stop. But humans, we carry this baggage with us.
Oh, yeah.
And we need help, you know, and it's a great thing to think of that way.
I agree. I love my job. I love my job. It couldn't be any better. It's heartbreaking. I almost, you know, like you were saying about feeling grief from someone else,
yes,
and feeling that pain for them, because I strongly believe in my heart that we're all human, we all have a soul, so we all have intuition. And within that intuition, within that soul connection, is a definite path to receive information. And you can receive feelings and emotions and from other souls, whether they're here or not. It's our connection. We all have this. For you to feel somebody's grief and for me to do this job brings a very clear understanding to just how hard it is and how different it is for everybody, for each moment of grief that they have. I'm the first one to admit I talk to a lot of dead people, and I love it. It's I'm here for them. They're here for me. It's definitely my gift to use and to share. But I have dead people that I haven't even looked at that stairway of grief. I'm not going there.
No, and I was going to ask you that too, because you know, on TV programs, they make it seem like you can absolutely help every single spirit that comes in front of your path, and you know, it must just tire you out mentally. Because I know when I'm even prepping for a show, and I'm doing a bit of research and getting things together, at the end of it, you're like, wow, you know. So I can't even imagine what it must be like for you and people such as yourself to have all this bombardment of psychic material constantly, you know, around you, in you, you know. You're basically living
in me
as
happens sometimes too, but you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I can tell you this, two things, and maybe it's a secret, and I don't even know if I can say these words on radio, but I'm going to. I strongly feel that when they connect to me, that's heaven connecting to my human body. Yeah. And the miracles and the healings and the information that comes through, it's orgasmic. There, I've said it. It's
There's
like
nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that? Okay, good. I'm not saying it's sexual in any way. I don't mean that.
No,
but
it's just
like
euphoria.
A runner's high. It's a runner's. Yeah. I'm not a runner, but it's a runner's high. It's like when I'm there, even just talking to you about it, because even through our conversation and anybody listening, you're automatically opening up. You're automatically going there, and I love that. But yeah, when I'm done, oh boy, am I done. I'm like, all right,
shut off.
stop talking.
Well, that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you. How do you switch it off, or can you?
How do you switch it off? I think about this often. Let me ask you.
Yes.
Here you are, a soul, right?
Yes.
Okay. Soul's in the body, right?
Yes.
Body's asleep, body's awake. Body's asleep, body's awake. Soul is always awake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say God's got to tell you something, and he's going to use something to tell you, a sign, a loved one, an angel, a guide, anything, a profound aha moment, thought, but God's got to tell you something. What's going to happen if you turned off?
Yes, a good point. You might not.
Have you ever turned your soul off?
That's a very good point.
I have a hard time connecting to that.
That's right. No, that's a very good point.
I don't. But I also think that we have. It's that free will thing. But God's not going to impede our free will. Nobody's going to impede our free will. So if somebody has a problem where they're on a lot, there are a lot of things they can do. They can medicate. They can meditate. They can do that too. They can meditate. They can pray. Prayer is profound to kind of protect yourself. You can get more sleep. You can put background music, background noise. Go to sleep with the radio on. You won't have them standing at your bed. But for me, it's like I have these people who are crossed over who know that they can talk to me, but they don't wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. They don't startle me as I turn around a corner. Once in a great while they do. I can't say it's never. But I don't turn it off because I demand respect as a soul, and they respect me back. There's a huge respect issue. If you're having something like, say, you feel like there's somebody in your house all the time, and maybe it's an old house, so it's not your loved one, but it's somebody connected to the house.
Yes.
Don't let them bother you. If it's bothering you, tell them, stop bothering me. It's one soul to another. And if you believe that there's somebody in your house that you really can say that to, and you're not being facetious, and you're really opening your heart, they're going to listen. They're going to listen. So
well,
I don't have an off button.
Here's a hypothetical question. Can a psychic or somebody with some sort of ability enter your dream state and sort of eliminate your dreams as, I would say, in a good way or a bad way?
Could like a loved one come in and do that, or could I go to sleep and do that to you?
Like somebody with strong psychic abilities, can they actually shut down your another person's dream state? And the reason why I'm asking this is because personally, I haven't had any dreams that I can recall. Let me tell you.
I'm going to say yes, and now you tell me the rest. Go ahead.
Okay. I haven't had any personal dreams that I can recall vividly for the last 7 to 8 months at all. It's like total darkness. I don't know if it's because I'm so fatigued.
So you're sleeping heavy?
Yeah, exactly. But I don't even remember, like, even when you're about to fall asleep, you might have that little flash of whatever. Mm-hmm. That's not even happening. It's just like, lay down, boom, dark. Wake up, nothing.
Wow. How are you feeling physically?
Great. I work out. I have 2 very active children that are still young.
No, I mean in the last 7 months.
You know what? I've had really nothing to complain about. I'm still continuously working my regiment, and nothing's slowed down, nothing's sped up. There are times where mentally I'm tired, but that's more or less from the daily activities and the researching, writing, and promoting and that kind of thing. And as well as being a husband and a father is just wear and tear. But psychically, I don't feel weakened psychically at all. Not that I'm psychic, but I mean, like...
No, well, we all are psychic. I am so okay with you saying that. That's awesome. Psychic is the word to explain prophets in the millennium. It's definitely a wonderful, wonderful word. Misunderstood word, but a wonderful word. Can I just give you a reading?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't say I'm going to die.
Well, the reason I say this is because you're talking, and I started wandering off on this mail that wanted to come through. So I was trying to pay attention to you, but psychically I was starting to receive other information about this mail. Father's side, right. Definitely on your father's side. An important person in your life. Not associated to you talking about your dreams, but this
right.
person comes through almost authoritative, maybe a very long face. Very long face, like an oval face. Is this your grandfather? This has got to be.
Well, my dad was quite a big guy. Like, I'm 240
Is your dad
pounds.
in spirit?
My dad was, he wasn't a very nice person, though, when he was alive, but
okay,
I'm
wait.
sure.
Don't Psychic rule number 1, don't talk when the psychic's getting something so you can test them.
Okay.
You want to test psychic mediums. You definitely do. Test is a harsh word. I shouldn't say that because I don't like being tested. But don't offer information. Allow them to oh boy, your dad is definitely. Is it the chins? Can I just say it? Is their chins? That's so rude, but that's how I see it. He wants to be funny. He's trying very hard to be funny, but he doesn't laugh very often. Do you understand this?
I very much do, yes.
Okay. Just not healthy, never got the house he wanted, had a dead-end job. Like, he's just like, you know what, I had a very mundane life. I just had to get you here. Do you have a brother?
Well, am I supposed to answer now? I've never had a reading personally, so I don't know how to do this.
You've had so many wonderful people on.
Yeah, I've never asked.
Where's your reading, hon?
I've never asked because I don't want to, impose on my guests and make them feel like that's what they're supposed to do. I'd rather get to know them. But this is amazing. This is absolutely
if you don't mind, you let your
I don't mind.
Wonderful. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you. Yeah, you know what? Do you have a brother that's in spirit?
Yes, he died at birth.
Okay, thank you. Because he's talking about your brother. He died at birth.
There's a very bad scenario with that, though, and I just don't know.
Well, yeah, because your dad was mean.
No, not even that. I was told that he passed away, but I never seen the actual grave site for a death certificate, nothing like that. So there's question to me.
If he even existed?
Yes, or if he even died.
Oh, how interesting. Was your mom little?
She was, yes.
And your mom is in spirit too, then, yes?
Yes.
Oh, you lost your mom and dad.
Yeah.
I feel your grief. So that's what I have compassion for you right now. Your mom was little. She comes across to me very little, very scattered, very trying to get control and can't. What a wonderful woman.
She was very intelligent. I'll give her that.
She was
very,
wonderful.
very smart.
Just wonderful. I like her. Regardless of whatever with her when she was here, she's coming through to me very kind. Now, in a way, I almost want to say I would expect her to be kind to me, but I'm sure she has opinions. She's probably analyzing me.
She is. I like my daughter, both a Leo, and you know how Leos are.
I do have an inkling about how Leos are. Dedicated to one end.
Yes, their end.
But she's little. Was she blonde?
No.
Okay, understand icy blonde hair. Icy
bright hair. Yeah, she did dye her hair blonde one time.
Thank you.
And,
okay, she's telling me she was blonde. Very, very interesting, though. I love that your mother's energy is here, but your mother's energy is very little, and she says, please just embrace me. She says, every time you think of me, think of hugging me. She feels that her being touched, embraced, and loved is very important to the healing of her soul, and it will also be healing to your soul, so she acknowledges this, that there needs to be embraces, because we have very little embrace.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I do. That makes
and
quite
do you have a sister as well?
I do. I have two, actually.
Okay, and they're here?
Yes.
Yes. Your brother has crossed over. That is my impression. And, please back it up with other mediums at some point in time. But your father is adamant about saying your brother is with me. Your brother is just with me. Now, I'm sorry. I don't know if you can back up any stories. Have there been stories, quote unquote, about your brother?
Well, from what the story was,
I can tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
And then we'll compare notes.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm just yes, but yes, you've heard stories.
From my mother, yes. Personally.
Okay. It seems to me to be very, it was like he was found dead, we buried him. He was found dead and we buried him. Like, in the backyard? For God's sakes, is it on the property? I feel like your dad is telling me on the property. On the property. Is your grandfather buried on property?
Well, that's the thing. I never actually did meet any of my grandfathers. Like my dad's from Greece, so his relatives are all over there, and I never did meet them.
But that's not where your brother was born.
No, he was born in Toronto.
In Toronto. Please understand that the information that I have is that wherever your brother is buried, so is another male. They are together, buried together. And this could be even your dad. There is something about being buried on the property that connects to that. So,
that's very interesting.
Just hold that. Just hold that to your heart and know that, I have a little spiel about babies dying because it's just the worst grief. I don't care if it's an abortion or a miscarriage or a stillborn, but when you have a child that is crossed over, and especially for any of your listeners that need to hear this, we choose what happens before we come down. So if I'm lying in bed when could you imagine this, like a little baby coming down to you and going, a little soul going, you know what? I'd like to come down for a couple of months. Can your wife get pregnant for 4 or 5 months, 6 months maybe, so she can feel me kick? But then I gotta go because that's gonna help me advance my soul. I don't know about you, but I'd be like, no. I don't think so.
Try somebody else.
Yeah, pick somebody else, right? And they're going, but no, it's timing, it's you, it's going to affect your life positive. There's all these reasons, don't you? And then they're going to say, don't you remember, we planned this before you came here. I chose you because you were strong. If you have to make a choice to have an abortion or to have a child, you are a very strong woman. I
agree completely.
A baby, a soul, you make that agreement before you come here, knowing that that's going to help in the big picture, because there is a bigger picture. And that's very important to know, because if your brother is also part of that, and then they stay around they're like the best guardian angels ever.
I always wondered because personally, I don't like to also, direct the show on my own personal life, but quickly I'll just say I always wondered if he was alive, what his life would be, and would it be proper of me to interfere on his reality, maybe not even knowing that there's any of, myself and my sisters outside of his spectrum. So that's that's the consequence that I don't want to put on somebody else in case they never had an idea,
I'm going to tell you from an adoptee's point of view, and I say that because I would love to be wrong, and I would love for you to have a brother out there to reconnect with. So, because psychics are never 100%. If I do wind up being wrong, tell me, and know that God bless you on that adventure. Yeah. I told you that I have 200% Polish parents. I'm Italian.
Yes.
So for that to happen, but I was adopted. So I have the birth father, the birth mother. I actually have 2 sisters and a brother. I can honor where you're coming from. Psychically, you guys, you and your sisters are so understanding and so loving, and your lives are so stable, and spirituality is so strong that nobody from the outside would ever have a problem being accepted and coming in. You would never be interfering. God put us on this planet to be together. If we are separated and we long for each other, it is usually mutual. Even if the person that you reconnect with isn't necessarily happy about the reconnection, like maybe a birth mother and a birth daughter, or a birth daughter finding a birth mother and the birth mother going, what the hell? Yeah. There's still a reason why that connection was reconnected, and it affects everybody on whatever level it's supposed to. So I would always say search and go for it. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You'll know something more than you did.
Well, you might be right. You might be right, and the strange thing about it, too, is down the street from where I live, there's a grocery shop, and the produce manager is a spitting image of my father.
Oh.
He's in his, like...
Is there a J connected to that? Johnny? J?
Yes, that's the actual name of the supermarket, Johnny.
Oh, Johnny.
But
can I tell you something? I had the name John like 10 minutes ago. So,
that's crazy.
Keep going.
It's funny, too, because I never noticed this before, but one day I was shopping, and I actually, by chance, heard him speaking, and even the way he speaks, it's the same kind of dopey mentality that my dad had, real kind of almost ignorant, and his posture looks just like my dad, his structure of his face, he's kind of slumpy, the way he wears his hat, it's almost like it's about to fall off his head, and he drives a similar truck to what my dad had. So all the similar, I know coincidences are almost impossible. Hey. Everything happens for a reason, but this guy is my father about 20 years ago when he was, healthier, let's say. So it's like, is this person connected?
I take that two ways. First of all, if I were you, because I'm bold like that, I'd ask him straight out, are you adopted? And see what he says. Because really, what is it going to hurt? You've got the curiosity, the energy connection is there, the familiarity is there. If he says no, or just, you could always just say, gosh, you look just like my dad. Look at his picture. And pull a picture of your dad out so this guy can see it. See what kind of a reaction he gets. And you could be like, are you adopted? Look at this. We could be brothers. And see what happens. That's how you get on over.
But I came home and I pulled out the last picture that I had of him, and my sister actually gave it to me. It's him crouching down with her two children.
Oh.
And the way that he's smiling, because I just came from the stupid grocery store too, right? And that guy was kneeling down. He was kneeling down and he was putting vegetables on a shelf thing, and he smiled, and it looked just the same as in this picture. Now, I know everyone has, an evil twin out there, let's say. Maybe my dad was his evil twin. I don't know.
I don't know if your dad particularly likes that phrase.
Yeah, well, no, he, like if you've ever watched The Sopranos, my dad was the living version of that. He wasn't a nice person, honestly, and not a lot of people liked him, and including myself. That's what I think. It happened for a reason.
But as your dad comes through to me and speaking to me, and he gives me such a physical presence of him that you've just described to a T, he just loves you. He thought he was supposed to be here to have kids. He did. What more do you want? You're here. That's how he feels. Take it upon yourself now.
That's the Greek mentality, because he was pretty superficial. Everything was like, there was no depth to nothing. And if you tried to speak to him, his closed-mindedness would come out of nowhere, and opinionated beyond belief.
Oh my, your poor
but
little
you know
mom.
what? I think honestly, it's a good thing, because it really amplified and sort of set up a checklist of my life and what I'm supposed to do as a parent and a husband and as a man. Mm-hmm. Compared to what he did in his life. And all the X's he has on his title name, I will never go near. I will never be a duplicate of that. And I know everyone says that. I won't be my mother, I won't be my father.
You can take honor in it, though, because he was here to show you what you weren't supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I'm looking at it.
And the other thing about Mr. Johnny there, God is like a really funny sense of humor kind of energy. I would also look at this man who looks so much like your father as a really incredible gift. Just by being in this man's presence, your father is connecting with you.
That
if you don't want to connect with your dad, which it sounds like you probably wouldn't want to connect with his energy.
No.
He is trying so hard to get you to realize that he's in that state of love, which is hard for us to understand, but they understand.
No, I understand.
That he's got this man right in your face constantly as a reminder. And you know what? I bet he's a nice guy.
Well, I do know when you cross over, you do lose and shed your bad tendencies, your evilness, your kind of hate, and you become this pure energy. That's right. You become pure energy. So I will give him the benefit of doubt of that happening, but like the almost celestial sort of state that he's in can't take away from the corporeal damage he did to everybody when he was here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you can be one person to advance above that.
That's true. I could look at it that way, that by me releasing the memory will also let him transcend.
They are not looking for you to release the memories of them. Even if they're bad, it still is who you are and who you became as a result of that. They never, it's so funny. Dead people are funny. We're going to be funny when we're dead. They don't care about what they did while they were here. They may be sorry. Like, I could imagine your dad, well, no, I can't imagine your dad saying, I'm sorry, I wish I could. But he's like, no, don't say that. No, don't say that. I wouldn't say that. However, that's a perfect example. It's like maybe your father would never say he's sorry, but I still feel the essence of that apology within his love, and that's something that you can feel right now in your heart, is that he has that ability to say he's sorry to you. However, when we die, we're not sorry. No. We're not. We know. I mean, you get that beatific vision. You get that all-knowingness all of a sudden, and it's like, oh, I understand. It's like, it's like, just to bring it to the evil aspect of it, because evil does exist. You could have the woman who was killed by the man, and then the man dies, and then the woman dies, and up in heaven they're going, you killed me. Yeah. All right. Okay. It's like there's an understanding. Oh, I know why you did that. Thank you. I mean, it becomes a thank you more than it becomes a grudge. So for us to hold the grudge against how somebody, like, oh, what about those horrible car accidents? Oh, my gosh. Getting hit by a drunk driver, losing a child, things like that. We're supposed to be angry. That whole grief staircase, remember, I admitted, there's stairs I haven't even looked at yet.
Yes.
But there are those, we have to understand that when we die, we don't hold, you're right, we don't. We understand. But your dad, he's a tough cookie, huh?
Everybody wants to know if you would like to extend, because this show is flying by. This is an amazing hour of power talk, and I would love to go more if you want.
Why don't we go? We could go to like 11:30.
Okay, I just don't know how I extend, because I've never extended on air. So if somebody if Dominica can tell me how to do it, I will definitely do it. If you want, I think basically back to edit an episode, right? Is it edit an episode and then go back on the actual show page? Because normally I just go off there.
I think I'd be willing to call back.
Okay. Well, let me try real quickly here, because there's a bunch of areas that we didn't even touch yet. I know we've been centering around my soprano dad, but let's talk about. Have you ever encountered anyone that has, like, two complete strangers that have parallel past lives that are so similar it just blows you away?
Parallel past lives?
Yeah, like so similar. Yeah?
Yeah. We're all unique. We're all very, very different. Okay, so I can understand that, you can't say that it's so the same that they were the same. We are all individual souls. I have a very hard time believing that we share lifetimes. So I can't say it would be that similar, but I'll give you a little story while you're working on your thing there. I have a partner, and her name is Janine, and we opened up the Beyond Center in Vernon, Connecticut, which is, it's small. It's 2,100 square feet, but it has 2 offices and a center room, and we do little presentations there and stuff. I met Janine about 6 years ago, and we had similar past lives, similar present past lives. We would have so many synchronicities. Now, I'm 36. I met her when I was 30. So it's not even that it was somebody who was around my whole life or anything like that. But diving right into like pure aspects of past life, she called me up one day and she says, let's do a Renaissance fair. Do you know what a Renaissance fair is?
Yes. I was actually going to get into that with you. I saw the little banner, and it looks awesome.
Yes, there's a picture of me in Renaissance garb on my site. It's so funny. Well, Janine, she calls me up and she says, "Do you want to do the Renaissance fair?" And I said, "Sure, Nini, that'd be great. But will our keeper be there?" And these words came out of my mouth, and we started talking about our past lives.
Yes.
And we basically built a part of a past life that we had together in general conversation. We slipped right back into the exact same past life instantly. And both of us, who are both like Catholic and a little bit living in reality other than our jobs, but we kind of, we don't dive into that stuff very often. We went, whoa, step back. You know, we know past lives, but to have the experience so extreme. We went to a past life regressionist, which are awesome for all of your listeners. A past life regressionist is basically a hypnotherapist who will guide you verbally while you go into a meditative state where you will remember and you'll be able to speak about your past lives. They'll come out of your higher consciousness.
Yes.
We did this one-on-one, and we built a story back and forth. I mean, it was definitely, we connected from a past life that was just unbelievably similar.
Now, did you look further into that? Is there a possibility that the two of you may have been sisters, or brother and sister, or maybe mother, daughter, or something?
It's weird because, well, of course, doing the jobs that we do, because she's a psychic medium as well, we find ourselves in a lot of situations where people are reading around us, or we'll go to readings, or we'll go to groups and classes and stuff, which everybody should do. You know, if you're in that field, you should practice and keep up with what you're doing. We had that experience on the telephone. We went to the past life regressionist, and she stated when she met me in that lifetime and the whole story up to it, I got the entire death. The only thing we didn't have was my story of my birth and her story of her birth, because we weren't together. Right. So it was interesting how we couldn't get that piece. And then her and I were actually at a practice, an intuition practice kind of a session, where there were people there that were not intuitives that were doing readings with us. And this one woman comes out and goes, you know you guys were together in a past life, but you didn't know each other for like the first 7 or 8 years. And she told us everything. So in a matter of maybe a year, we had compiled the entire lifetime together. It was the 1300s. It was the Inquisition. I was intuitive. My parents basically threw me away. They had to, or I would have been killed. I was picked up by what you would consider to be traveling gypsies in my mind, but not really. It was an herbalist who we called to the keeper, and it was her and Janine and these other children, I suppose, but I think they were all the keeper's family. And they took me up to England where I stayed, so we didn't travel around and do things like that, but she kept me safe, quote unquote. And I found it ironic because I'm adopted in this lifetime as well, taken from the parents because you needed to be for a higher purpose. So there's that. We probably could validate. I mean, we were given a lot of details where we probably could even go further and maybe even find like where we're buried or something like that. I'm not sure, but we can see how what happened in our past lives connects to what's going on in our current lives too. Like I had told you before, how we choose what to pull in for our experiences. I don't know. I mean, then you get these people that say I was Elvis and I was Mother Teresa and I was, Jesus and funny story.
I guess that's for the person that yearns for ultimate attention, and I can understand why they would want to believe that, because it's nice to be kind of idolized and put on a pedestal in that sort of way.
Yeah.
But I always felt in my last life I was probably just, some guy that, like, shook apple trees and caused trouble. I don't know. Possibly.
I love it. Funny fact, the Vatican, the popes, the Catholics,
yes.
They threw out reincarnation in just, 1500 and something. I mean, it was in the 1500s. A woman actually approached the Vatican claiming to be the Mother Mary, reincarnate. And at that time, because Catholics still believed in reincarnation, the Pope at that time came out with a new sanction saying, because there is not enough information that can be validated to prove the existence of previous lives, and they backed it up with all of these, God says we don't have to live again,
That's
and
right.
heaven and this and that, control.
Mm-hmm.
They threw it out. They actually threw it out. But up until the 1500s, Catholics believed in reincarnation. I mean, it was an honest-to-God absolute. When John the Baptist was walking down the hill and Christ was in the water in the stories in the Bible, he hollers out, my brother Elijah. So there's kind of, why that? Why randomly that?
Right.
And Catholics used to believe Elijah, was John the Baptist. So reincarnate, they had that impression. So it's interesting how in a matter of, 500 years?
Yep. Well, that's it. It's exactly like you said. It's all control. And, I've seen the most incredible documentary film on reincarnation, and it was based in India, a very remote town, and this person was killed by a truck. And some years passed. Also, on a side note, this particular little isolated town made a certain kind of incense that only was found in that town.
Oh.
A few years passed, and hundreds of miles away, in another area, completely, non-related in any way, shape, or fashion to that other town, a child was born. And strangely enough, they started making that particular incense at a certain age, but even more strange than that is they had the exact birthmark sort of design in the impact of where that person was killed by the truck hitting them. And they started noticing other children and people that had similar scars at death, and then in birthmarks in areas of the body. And I took a look at myself and my son, because it's the strangest thing. We both have the exact birthmark on the exact spot of our chest. Now, so I asked somebody else the question, and they said it's because they envisioned Roman times, Greco-Roman times, and an arrow was penetrated into my chest and his as well, because we were brother in arms type of deal. And I thought that was absolutely amazing to think of that.
I can feel that. That resonates beautifully. How did you feel when you were told that story?
I believe it because I do have a lot of fascination with, not war in itself, just types of artillery and, sort of combat thing. I think that's the police fascination again, with law, martial law, sort of hand-to-hand combat.
Can I take it to a spiritual level?
Sure.
How interesting that you would learn that information about your past life, connecting you and your son to a past life you had been to, which automatically attunes your body to open up to your son in a completely different way. It's very profound than if you didn't know that information. And how would you have been able to confirm that for yourself as a human without having the physical, because we love the physical confirmation. And here you have this birthmark to represent this story that you feel, allowing you to bond with your son in such a deeper way. That's beautiful. Do you feel what I feel with that?
I do. And
okay.
It's so funny because when I look at him, it's like I see an exact copy of him, like even almost like a clone. Like he really is me to the T, And I know people say that a lot, but I don't know, I'm just so amazed by his he's not even 3 years old. And the other funny thing is he has my birthday, which is now his birthday. But,
okay, for real.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Come on,
For
there
real.
are way too many non-coincidences.
I know. It just blows your mind when you start connecting everything, not just from my life, but the whole big picture of all of this that we're all trying to discover and uncover. There's so many things that are just beyond. If you're looking at a newspaper, it's beyond the paper, it's beyond the words, it's beyond the message, it's beyond everything else. It's like watching The Matrix. If you just watch the movie to see the fight scenes, you're missing everything else in it. If you're just looking at it to see the special effects, you're missing everything else in it. There's so much depth, so much of a message. You have to see everything all at once, and that's the way I look at things.
Oh, I agree.
But I actually have another question. The person answering 999, they've been anxiously waiting. It's in relation to their education path, which I support them. Whatever school they get into, go for it. But that's the main drive of their question. They want to know if they can just post them again, because it's scrolled up and I can't find it here. There was 4 that they listed. I think they're trying to... Don't tell me. Okay.
You can scroll up to it. Freeze your scroll. Hit that little arrow button and freeze.
Yeah, I'm going
go
up
to
and
the college.
it's gone.
But this is what I'm going to say. So what's being asked is which college would be best for me?
Yes. And
I'm a mother of a 15-year-old. Every college you can get into. Fantastic.
There you go.
Go to college.
Exactly.
This is what I want to say. The first words that keep coming to my mouth, I feel like, are Chicago. I keep feeling like I want to say Chicago,
right.
The Windy City, the area of Chicago. What's Chicago, Illinois? I feel like there's definitely a scholarship connection, too. I think if it's sports or if I play sports or if it's something along those lines, I feel like I can attach to that. Think big. I almost want the biggest school that there is. Go big. Why go small? You've had small. Small has been where you have been. Get out of the small and get to the big. Put yourself in the large environment. You want to make a large impact. I almost feel like this decision is based, needs to be based more on what they want than what others think would be good for them, and make the choice that you're not sure if it's good for you or not, but it feels good. What feels good? It's not a guessing game. It's not who's going to give you something better. Okay. Even the fee, I feel like you'll get the education. You'll do the 4 years. I want 4 years. I want a big school. I want a big name even, maybe an Ivy League name. Is there an Ivy League name on that list?
There was. They mentioned Harvard, but they didn't apply because they have their own reasons, which I totally can understand.
Well, yeah.
And there was a secondary part of it. I believe they were asking if they would find a boyfriend or a man or something like that. I didn't catch it all because we're focusing on our questioning with each other. But if they could please repost it.
I get football. When you said that, how about a man? I keep getting football. So this school is going to have a football team. Right.
And I know Chicago has quite the extensive athletic program.
Well, there you go.
And all of their schools.
Was that one of the schools listed?
I can't. I've scrolled up and it's disappeared.
Okay.
People are speaking quite well here tonight.
Wonderful. I love an active chat room.
Me
Hello,
too.
Chat room.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, everybody in the chat room again, and thanks for sticking around the extra time as well. And if you look at your clocks, it's 11:11, which is very symbolic, But I had one more question too. You did write a book, and if you can give people an insight to that, what was the inspiration behind that? Was it your own experiences, or was it a collection of everything that's happened to this point?
Well, I have to say, I'm a Taurus.
Yes. My dad was a Taurus.
You couldn't guess that, right? I'm a little A-type personality, and I'm very blunt. And when it came to my line of work and what I do for a living, I'm very spiritual. So I take messages from heaven. I call it heaven. I call it heaven because that's a cool name. And I say God because I'd like to put a name to it. And I really felt that regardless of my my beliefs, like I say I'm Catholic, but I'm definitely pre-Pope. After Peter, it all went downhill. But there are a lot of wonderful gifts that the Holy Spirit gives you. And through the Catholic Church, you can get great attunements. Through anything, you can get great attunements. But for me personally, having this job, knowing what I know, having the education that I have, people would ask me a lot of questions. And I would, and I would tell people what I do for a living, and I would get that grimace. I would get that, oh, you're a psychic?
I know exactly what you mean.
Well, after like 10 years of that, 11 years of that, I was like, this is enough. So my book is called Living with Messages from Heaven. Yeah. It's an advocate for psychic mediumship and prophets in the millennium. It's basically a job description so people know what it is that I'm doing. It's from my perspective because I'm the one that wrote the book, but it's not so much a memoir as it is, this is what a psychic is, this is what a medium is, this is what a psychic medium is, this is who you go to, these are the ethics that they should have. Did you research this person? Are they always right? Are they always wrong? Are there any burdens? What are some myths about psychics? Do they know everything? Can they read your mind? I go into what we do when you come for a reading. This is what you need to do before you come. This is what you do after you leave. It doesn't end just within, at the end of the hour session. It's not over. Now you have a responsibility. You agreed to take messages from heaven. Do something with them, like acknowledge
exactly.
it in some way. It doesn't have to be immediate, of course, but I wrote the book because I got to the point where I really just wanted people to know that there are really good psychic mediums out there. Take advantage of it. Kings used to find prophets and pay to bring them, for 6 months they would, send somebody out to go get a prophet to bring them back to their kingdom. Nowadays, you have to go to your, just go to your local spiritual bookstore and see if there's any flyers up and find one. Not every psychic wants to be famous. A lot of us like to just, stay in our hometown and do what we can do for our communities, but we're a resource. We're a dentist office. We're a doctor's office. We're a church. We're a library. We're there as a job. Of course, it's kind of, they don't have insurance for psychics yet.
Well, let me ask you,
we're working on it. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be the next wave.
Yeah. There's no medical insurance for energy healings. Well, they're a little bit, but not really.
That's right. Do you have your own personal favorite psychic outside of yourself and your partner? Because from what I gathered, there is a lot of almost division inside of the psychic realm. It's very catty. It's attacking at times. It's it's almost like watching two cats fight on the street. They don't really engage in physical fighting. They just screech and holler,
I so honor that statement on such a personal level. I'd like to call myself the exception, and yes, I do know a few other exceptions. And if somebody went to my website, they can go right to my links page, and the psychics that I do list, they do phone readings, so it doesn't even matter where you are. You're right. And then I get angry because I go, okay, supposedly you're talking through God. Okay, real nice. How can you have some, stand by your ethics here. If you're supposed to have that kind of compassion, bring it on. It makes me upset. I work with a lot of psychics. I do try to work with as many as I can. But you're right. They do get, and we all do, because we're so intuitive.
Yes. How
are they doing that? We don't have any answers for what we do. It's kind of like like one restaurant going in, sending a secret shopper into another restaurant to see how they're cooking.
Yeah, find the secrets out. That's right.
Right. There are no secrets to this. None of us have an answer. It's none of us are really going to know until we've crossed over.
That's right.
But you have to be humble about that. You do. There is a lot of cattiness. I find a lot of that also comes with popularity too. I think the more popular somebody gets, the more likely they are to be judged. So they are very careful who they work beside.
That's right.
Which I am too.
But at the end of the day, though, I just wish, because I also research a lot of UFO material, and ufology really is, even far more problematic than this. Everyone's trying to disprove everybody, and that's the whole thing. If everyone unifies themselves, including with religion as well, modern day religion unifies with paranormal research and psychic abilities and this and that, it would make the information ball so huge that no one could stop it. And that's the important thing that everyone has to reflect on.
And, well, on UFOlogy, there's also, and a lot of psychics will tell you this, if you are, because I teach the intuitive part of it too, if you, I get people who have come in over the years who, they're like, I don't know, I woke up and I was psychic.
Yes.
And I'm going, oh, really? And where were you the night before? Not quite sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of that too. Abductees are genetically altered to have an extreme important purpose here. I hope that anyone who is an abductee finds a group, and if there isn't one to find, make one.
That's right.
Just put a little note in a newspaper saying "abductee looking for a friend." Give an email. I don't know.
No, you're totally right.
To.
You are very right, because that's the thing too. If there's common ground and common place for everybody, then maybe that would cause a lot of the tension to subside, because the competitive factor would be taken out.
Not only that, but use the psychic as a resource. If you are an abductee and you have some experience in that area, you have a mission, you have a higher purpose, and it's more than just healing from the abduction itself. It's to move on from that. Your soul has a higher purpose. Remember, it chose that experience for this body. So there is something important to finding each other.
Well, here's a personal question for you. Have you ever had your own reading done, and do you self-read, or is that something that just sort of, is like walking on eggshells if you try to self-read?
You know what? You can read yourself. I mean, we all can. We can definitely read for ourselves. A lot of people, they get tarot cards and they read for themselves. The only advice I give on that is, no matter what the modality, the tool, or the essence that you are using to read for yourself, don't become obsessive. We're not supposed to know everything. Some things we are supposed to learn on our own, and the more we push for it, the more we will push the energy out there to read it instead of allowing to come to us.
Okay.
I don't often read for myself. Occasionally I'll pull an angel card for myself, but I do. I have had some readings. I've had readings where loved ones have come through that I didn't expect. Maybe I'm in a group and I'm going, they're not going to come to me. I'm a psychic, they're going to avoid me.
Do you go to get a reading, do you let them know that you're a psychic as well, or do you just try to see how on point they could be as well?
Both. I guess you can call me one of those catty mediums.
No, I wouldn't say that's
No, but I will.
catty.
I'll admit it.
Okay, if you want to say that.
There is. I mean, I can think of one person in particular who is in the New England area who's very popular at the moment. And I was very curious because he was charging $50 a person for 2 hours, which is not bad, except for when I got to the room, there was 50 people in the room. So I knew he was making a good amount of money off of the adventure. But I thought, well, maybe, 50 people. In 2 hours, we read maybe 20, 25. I mean, just breaking up the minutes alone, that's only not even 5 minutes.
Yes.
So I sat there and I watched, and I didn't get read. And I had that whole, opinion part of it. Mm-hmm. Here's the interesting part about it, though. Even if I go to someone who, I don't tell them, because I didn't tell him what I did, I knew I was there for a purpose. So they took a break in between. There was the 2 hours, so we took a break at an hour and a half for about 10 minutes. And the woman next to me, she leans over to me and she goes, I have a little intuitive ability myself, and the whole time I'm sitting here, I feel like this woman is next to you. So I wound up not even getting my reading from the person I paid $50 to go see. I got a reading from the woman who's sitting next to me, and she was dead on.
Well, that's the thing.
So I always take the chance, and I always stay as open-minded as I can.
Yes.
But if I don't want to, I do tell most mediums or psychics that I sit with what I do, because I don't want them to go, oh, you have an aura, and it's yellow. I want them to go much deeper because I already understand all of that part. I also want them to know that, they don't have to go into that part of it. So for me, if you go see a mechanic and you are a mechanic and you just need him to do the job, you don't need him to explain it to you.
That's right.
Kind of.
Well, I have two questions. That one, I'm just going to throw this out. I don't know, because every psychic that I've spoken to is extremely intelligent, highly educated. In
all of them?
Most of them. Whether it's basic, life experience education or actual school fundamental education, they just speak so well. Does that make a difference? Obviously, if you're not a communicator of any kind, you're not going to be a great psychic. But have you ever met anybody that is just so psychic they just can't speak? They're confusing the way they read, but it's just, it's almost like a real-life X-Man, let's say.
You know what? I often say there's a very, very, very fine line between psychic and psycho.
Yeah.
That's where you draw the line. Which side of the line are you going to be on? Are you going to take all of that information that you have at your fingertips, being so intuitive that you can pick up on anything and retain it or not retain it? Or are you going to go on the other side and be like, I know all this information? Like, you just have to be so careful and so ethical. I can open a book on a topic related to my work and just read the, the subtitles, the chapter titles, and maybe, the first page of each chapter. I've got it. Mm-hmm. I've got it. It just soul awakens us. It soul awakens me. It gives me the information. But, yeah, they go crazy sometimes. And you're like, wait a minute, where are you? I am a psychic of the millennium. Come on, I watch CNN. I make sure I know what's going on. I listen to people. I talk to people. I keep myself educated, not just in the book part of it, because that's the part that can bring you way out, but that you're human, and we're having a conversation, and I'm learning from you. And something I learned from you tonight, I might be able to share and use tomorrow. So I pay attention to that exchange.
That's exactly the way I look at things, too, because I try to envision everything as like water and myself as a sponge, and I just try to sop up as much as I can. And it seems to me that that's the formula you use as well, and it's definitely working, and it applies to so many different areas, too, not just psychicness, at one's job, one's home life, your social life. If you go and you blend in and you kind of just do nothing, you'll never get anywhere. It's
you're not making a difference. You're not learning anything.
Yeah,
you've got to live.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. Gather as much as you can. It's so important. But Button came back and she has another question. I know we're running low on time for the extended, but she wants to know if there's any, impending health issues she may or may not know about and should be concerned about.
Well, unfortunately, there are two things that God does not give me.
Yes. Serious
illness or death.
Right.
For me to say that there would be an impending health issue that she is not already aware of would be immediately against her free will. It is not something that is going to come from a positive resource, all under God. If somebody is going to give that information, you have to question the source, because the source is impeding free will.
That's great.
For instance, if I was to tell you next year you're going to come down with pneumonia.
Yeah.
Next year you're going to come down with pneumonia.
Yeah.
Because I've told you, and because we're human, and my soul told your soul, and now your soul is going to expel that out into your body because your brain is going to believe it. Your brain is powerful. Emotions can make us sick, right?
That's right.
I'm making an emotion. If I tell you you're going to have pneumonia, you're going to almost die.
Yeah,
you're probably going to get pneumonia and almost die.
You're right, and especially for people that completely fester on an idea and that they can't shake it, that's all they'll think of. You know, for example, if you tell somebody, you know, you're going to get a brain tumor 3 years down the road, that's all they're going to say, oh, my God, brain tumor, brain tumor,
right.
brain tumor.
Take that down another step, too. How about this one? You and your boyfriend aren't going to work out. Or somebody says that. Even if you say that to yourself, people wonder, I know this relationship isn't going to work out. Well, of course not. You just said it wasn't going to work out. Not just law of attraction, but you've just made it happen. But you can't. I can't give the health answers like that because it's not. There are many medical intuitives. You can go to a medical intuitive like Carolyn Mace, incredible intuitive. You could make an appointment with somebody who does that, and they'll sit down. You can sit down in front of them. They'll scan your whole energy body.
Right.
I'm just receiving the messages. I try not to go to that. I guess I have a specialty within my job.
No, you know, then that's good because I think even with everything, you should have some boundaries that you're just not willing to cross to keep credibility and integrity with yourself.
With myself, yes.
You know, and if hopefully others will respect that. I'm sure they will because, you know, it's not an outlandish thing that you're saying at all because there's just certain things, you know, that are not meant to be shared, and death and disease really is something serious. And I completely understand what you're trying to say. And
I had one medium, one psychic one time who was not a very good psychic. So for anyone ever going out, if you ever have an experience that starts like this one did for me, turn around and walk away. I don't care if you get your money back or not. Just, you know, if the vibe gets bad, get out. I sat down and she looked at me. I had just had a baby about 3 months prior, and if anybody knows what a nice Italian voluptuous woman looks like after she's given birth 3 months ago, I wasn't a peanut by any means. And she looked at my wedding bands, and I only had taken them off that day because it was a warm day. You know, if you don't, you know, your marriage isn't going to work out if you don't lose weight, and you're not going to be healthy, and you're going to be dead by this age, and and I'm like, you're reading me physically. My marriage is perfect. I just had a baby. I'm like, what are you talking about? You got to watch for them to cold read like that, or they'll look at you and they'll read off of you. And she was doing that to me, but she had also said, you know, when you're going to die, and I was like, why would you tell me that? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, that's why I cracked that joke earlier. I'm like, as long as, when you asked me if I wouldn't mind a reading, that's why I stated, you know, as long as you don't tell me that I'm going to die.
Right, it seems and who really wants to know that? I know I'm going to die.
I don't want to know that. I want to die 1,000 years from now if I can, you know, like not now or next week or next year, you know, like I have a long-term plan.
I know.
You know, and
the closest I ever came to telling somebody when they were going to die was this guy at the gas station. He knows what I do because I always come in and I occasionally buy a Red Bull. That's a psychic secret. But I go in there and he would always put his palm out, read my palm. I don't read palms. Too many lines. I get the messages. I don't try to do the lines. But I held his hand and I said, you know, whatever happens to you this year happened to you last year. And he says, oh, no, I hope not. And I go, well, I hope not, too. I hope for the best. I had no idea what I was talking about. A week later, I had walked in, and he had died of a heart attack. He had had a heart attack a year prior to the month. I didn't know.
Dancer 99, the one with the school, she's asking quite repeatedly here, we're off the air now, but if she listens to the replay, she wants to know if she'll find a man, where and what he'll look like, and his personality. And I thought, you know, that's quite an order to fill.
Yeah, that's a whole reading in itself. You know what I'm going to suggest, because we are off the air, because time has ended, that anybody listening, and especially her, if she wants to get a reading, I do email readings too. They're rather cheap. You can just ask one good question, and I'll give you one good answer. That's an in-depth question. I mean, the answer is always going to be yes from the get-go, because you are meant to be here to be with somebody. Just like we were talking about before, you know, touch me, talk to me. We were put here to be with somebody. So just having the desire and the willing and the question alone, yes, the answer is yes, you will have somebody. And the rest of that I would have to have not necessarily more information, but more time to elaborate.
That's right. And we'll give the email address out if you want for the people out there to send that question to you.
Well, you know what? Really, just they would have to go through my website. So it's RebeccaAnn.org, Ann with an E.
Yes.
And that's it.
And what's your plans for the spring and summer outside of the Robin Hood festival thing that you got going?
Janine and I will be the Oracle Sisters at the Renaissance Fair in Guilford, and then again in September in Hebron, Connecticut. I do have some rather very exciting things. If any of your listeners are in St. Louis, Missouri, I will be in St. Louis, Missouri in the end of June, the last weekend of June. There is always something going on at the Beyond Center that we would love people to travel and come up to and stay with us when we have a long event on a day. Any kind of I have my blog talk radio show on Thursday mornings, so people can tune into me there. I do a lot of readings there. I have a new book coming out. It's called Acknowledging Soul and Awaken Your Intuition. That'll come out towards the end of the year. So that's really most of what I'm doing this year is finishing that project.
Well, that is a lot on your plate, and on top of that, you do have your marriage and your children and real-life situations to deal with as well, which I know very well from my own personal experiences. But I just...
That's kind of what my book, Living with Messages from Heaven, touches on. I'm the same exact as you. I have a grocery list. I have car repairs. I have mother-in-laws. We are definitely the same.
That's right. And that's what makes it extremely centering as well when you realize that, because if people could put that into context of a celebrity, they go grocery shopping, they take the time to mow their lawn, or whatever, but just basic people stuff. And that's what we have to do as well.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I want to say thank you very, very much. This has been an incredible hour and a half, and I would love to have you back. Or if you would like, in the future, I can definitely pop by your show and just, say hello and continue this conversation because it's been absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you. I had an awesome time. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad we could extend the show. That was awesome, too. And I'd love to come back. Amazing. And I want to say, again, for everyone that listened, please visit her website. It's RebeccaAnn with an E .org. And I hope I got that right because my computer just sort of crashed here. Oh, it's RebeccaAnn with an E.org. Yep, that's me. And everyone, please check out our radio show as well. And thanks for listening. And everyone, have a great night. And I'll see you soon on the next show, which will be on March 29th with Stephen Myers. And we'll get into detail about his philosophies and thoughts of the pyramid and what it really was. So have yourself a great night, and thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, thank you. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Bye.